What's up, Codex? Dan and Sal here with another interview with another fantastic comic superstar, Mr. Brett Booth. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We'll just kind of jump right into it. You've been working in the comic industry for a long time, but what was it that initially got you interested in comics?
Interested in comics. I was in study hall and I didn't have anything to do. In ninth grade, in high school, I for some reason wound up with two study halls, and one of them was like in second period, and one of them was I think fifth period, which was lunchtime. So it was like an hour and a half because we got like 45 minutes for lunch, so it's like an hour and a half of study hall. So I usually wound up doing all my homework that I got in the second period study hall, and then didn't have anything to do for like an hour and a half. So my friend was a huge comic book fan, and we were both in art classes. And I was like, "Hey, give me something to draw. I need something to draw or something to do." And and he handed me classic X-Men #1 cover.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And I was like, immediately, I was like, "Ooh!" And so I was like, started trying to draw it, and I was like, immediately hooked from that point on. So,
Nice.
and I went over to his place because I just moved to a new. We had moved from. We had like a development in this one area, so I had a bunch of my childhood friends, and we had just moved because my dad was hoping to retire in another couple years, so we moved to they sold our house and moved to a townhouse for a few years before they got a house ready for us in Florida. So one of my neighbors, one of my friends in high school was actually like lived right down the road, so I just went over to his house after school, and I do homework there, and then we just draw for hours at a time because he was a huge comic book fan and an art guy too. So we would just that's what we were doing. So I just basically he had everything. So I mean, I read like a bunch of the classic X-Men because that's what's coming out. The regular X-Men, Fantastic Four, Crisis on Infinite Earths. He was a big Legion fan, but I could never get into Legion.
Yeah.
Good stuff, though. Good stuff. I actually have that classic X-Men book slabbed. It's nice.
Yeah, it was like did one like I think last year because it was X-Men 60th anniversary. I did one like an homage cover of that for fun,
Oh,
and
nice.
that was fun. It was a lot of memories just because I had tried to draw it in the past a couple times. So I remember when I was like 13. So
Very good. Very good.
So that's some and you ended up working on X-Men, you ended up working on Fantastic Four, so professionally, so that must have been pretty cool for you.
the X-Men, yeah, I was hoping, and I still would like to do like a nice long run on it at some point, but Marvel's kind of weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of have to ask you, and if you're not like in their direct line of sight for projects, they're just not that interested. So
When you started off, I remember you starting off with Wildstorm in the 90s. How
yeah, I was actually trying to get in on, and I was up for X-Men animated.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
The one of the guys when I was in college, one of my friends was friends with Ralph Cabrera, who was an inker. He inked Greg Capullo on Quasar, I think, a bit, and he was trying to get another project, and so he like wanted me to. I met him through my friend, and he wanted me to submit some artwork because they wanted to go with a more Jim Lee style for the X-Men animated series. Originally, they didn't do that. I think they went with Ty Templeton,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and so I turned stuff in. But that was like the first project I was actually like up for, but I hadn't actually drawn any comics. I was still in college at the time, and then like 6 months out of college, another friend of mine who was an assistant inker to somebody uh, sent me I got the Marvel tryout story of Luke Cage.
Oh, that's
But the
cool.
thing is, the week before that, Wildcats 2 came out, and they had that ad for the Wildstorm talent search,
Yeah, I remember that.
and I sent stuff off immediately for that. And so the day that I got the stuff from the Luke Cage story to draw, I took my dog out for a walk, and then I came back home, and my little sister's like, "Stan Lee called," and I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, I couldn't remember." I said, "Stan Lee? Why would he be calling me?" I was like, you didn't mean Jim Lee, did you? Because I had sent my packet of stuff off, and she's like, it might have been. He said he'd call back in an hour. So an hour later, he called, and it was Jim who it was, and he called me back like an hour later. And so I talked to him for a while, sent him off some more submission stuff, and he asked me to do some layouts and all stuff. I talked to him on the phone for about a month, sending him stuff back and forth. I did that initial Wildcat Zero ad piece that he inked in that time, and then they invited me out for like a month to kind of try out at Wildstorm, and I did Wildcat
cool.
Zero in that time, and
Nice.
then they offered me like a regular gig, so I moved out.
Which was I remember you doing a lot of stuff for them. You did, Backlash and Deathmate and Kindred. Which was I don't remember which was the first book that they had you work on?
Wildcat Zero. That was the first thing I did.
Or I mean, what was the first regular gig that they had?
Regular gig. Well, I guess I did 2 issues. I did 2 issues of Stormwatch, and they brought me on Stormwatch Zero to help out Jeff because he was behind on that. And then, but I think I did the Kindred was the first miniseries, and then Backlash was the first regular series. So.
Okay, yeah, I remember that when it came out. That Kindred series was like the hottest book coming out at the time.
I don't think so, but I remember the sales figures on that. It wasn't the hottest book.
Well,
it did sell fairly well because I know that first issue sold. What was it? 151,000. And then it dropped in like the 120s, and then the fourth issue sold 149,000. So it did go back up, which is weird. Yeah. But
I remember the first 2 issues being hot and being like hard to find. So maybe that's what it was, that people were finally finding it and then getting back into it. I love this series though.
Thank you. A similar thing happened with Gen 13. That was like when the bubble was kind of bursting a bit in 94. Yeah. So cause I remember we had talked to Jim like a month or so before they got the numbers for that, and they had just had a meeting. No, it was a couple months. It was a couple months before that because they just had a meeting where they were basically going to cancel anything that sold under 175,000. And then the next month, everything came in under 175,000 for the orders. So I was like, oh crap! So they had to make some modifications to that pretty quick. So
the character I most associate with you from that time is Backlash, because you did Backlash and Wild Core and you did the crossover and all that. What was it like working on that character? Because your stuff on that just was so good, dynamic.
So the character was initially a character I created before I went to Wildstorm, and so when we got to Wildstorm, Jim bought my portfolio, and Jim looked through it, and he's like, I like this guy a lot, and he's like, let me mess with him. And he basically kind of modified the costume so that he looked more like the Stormwatch 4 version. Because originally he looked a little different. He basically had a big snake on him because he was a snake guy with like a whip.
Yeah.
And but he had the blue costume with the white hair and some of the belts and straps. So Jim just added some more belts and straps, and then gave him the eye patch. And then he didn't want to use the whip because he had just used a whip in X-Men with Omega Red, so he gave him a psychic whip. And we just kind of like threw him into Stormwatch and kind of went on our merry way with him.
Nice.
Well, then in '96 you drew the Backlash and Spider-Man crossover. How was it that came about? What was it like working on that?
That was fun. I mean, Jim calls me in, and the deal was I could get to draw either. Basically, was Jim was like, okay, well, I want you have to do 6 issues of Fantastic Four, and because we're doing this whole big crossover with Marvel thing, and I was like, all right, because when I was a Byrne Fantastic Four fan, but I wasn't like a Fantastic Four fan in general. And I was like, all right, I'm not 100% sure. And he's like, but you can have a Backlash crossover with, just come back with a couple ideas and pick whichever characters you want. So we sat and thought about it. Me and the editors, we went to dinner and other writers, and we're like, well, I wanted to do Daredevil. That was the one I originally pitched. with the hand, what I'm doing with the ninjas. I thought
Yeah.
that'd be cool. But they were like, "Oh, Spider-Man will sell better." So I was like, "All right, well, what's going on with Spider-Man?" And I was like I was like, "Oh, we can do something with Venom and the symbiotes." And they're like, "Okay, that's cool, but it's not Peter Parker." I was like, "What?" I wasn't. That's when the Clone Saga was just starting up.
Oh
So
God, yeah, the Clone
Right.
we
Saga.
had to use Ben Riley, which was fine. I liked the design and everything. It was cool. The problem is I didn't know what the backstory was, so we basically ran to the comic book store and tried to get all the back issues we could, so we could figure out what was going on with the story because it was like really convoluted.
Yeah.
It hadn't all been
That's
kind of
putting
cemented yet. So like trying
that's
to come
putting
up
it
with a story
nicely.
for that. Oh
That's
gosh.
putting it nicely with it being convoluted. That Clone
Yeah,
Saga. Oh my God.
it was interesting. I still like had a great I still had a great time drawing it. I mean, I like drawing Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I thought your Spider-Man was fantastic. I remember reading it and
Yeah.
thinking like, God, they got to put him on a Spider-Man book. Like, yeah, I think your style fits that character perfectly.
yeah, I do really good with those kind of uh, agile jump leapy around characters like Nightwing and Daredevil and stuff like that. It's kind of like totally in my wheelhouse. So,
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool.
so
Well, you mentioned the Fantastic Four. So did he did that was that something that he told you he wanted you to do like after Heroes Reborn had already started, or was that at the beginning of it?
that was at the beginning of it. He hadn't even started drawing anything yet.
Okay.
Um, so that was like it was always planned.
Oh, so it was
And
always planned he would do 6 issues,
yeah,
and then you would do six.
then I do 6 issues. The problem with that is he didn't give us enough plot. So
Oh,
he finished his 6 issue run, and then he decided he needed a break, and he went to Italy. He had only given us 9 pages of story for issue 7, and I drawn it in like the year before, like in November of the year before. And this was like in March. I get a call from Mike Heisler, and Mike's like, "Hey," he was the editor in chief at the time. "Hey, I just checking to see how's it going with that Fantastic Four issue?" And I was like, "I'm still waiting on plot." And he's like, "Yeah, I figured. It's due next week."
Yes.
So it was a big
Wow.
scramble because we didn't have like we had just moved. I couldn't find. Then like the next day, of course, Jim hands me the plot, which was like a paragraph. So which was fine because I actually love working like that. So that's how we did the rest of the books. Was I'd get like maybe a paragraph or a page of plot, just like written out single space, and I just divide it up on the print it out and then okay, this is a page, this is a page, this is a page. But I was like, we had a flashback to the Fantastic Four X-Men crossover, John Bogdanov. I think he drew it,
Yeah.
and I think it's Chris Claremont who wrote it. I think it was issue 2.
I got it right. Well, I got the Fantastic Four one you did was issue
Yeah,
6, whatever.
yeah. And I was like, oh god, I don't have it. I didn't have it's like I didn't have a copy of it because I just recently moved, and I was like, oh man. So there's like 2 comic book stores in the area, and I had to call one up and see if they had it, and they had it. And I had to like rush to get to the store to get the damn comic book, so I could draw the scene from like different angles of like Wolverine attacking. Oh god, who was attacking Reed Richards? I can't remember.
Reed Richards, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
It was just kind of fun. It was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. I got to draw. First time I got to draw Wolverine in a comic book. So
So let me ask you this. When you said you got to determine from the plot, just the paragraph now, which parts went on what pages, did you also get to design like the panels if they were like a splash page or if they were like multiple
yeah,
panel type
yeah,
situations as well? Wow,
yeah.
that's incredible. How did you go? What's the process behind that?
Um, well, it's kind of how we worked at Wildstorm. It was kind of an abridged Marvel version of the story.
Okay.
So basically, what we would do is we'd go have dinner. We'd
Yeah.
discuss the plot. We'd go back to the studio, and then we would lay out on the boards the plot.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Okay.
that's how I was used to working. So it wasn't a big deal. Okay, well, we have Ben Grimm in the hospital, and he's talking to the Fantastic Four for a page or two. And it's like, okay, I can do that. That's no big deal. And then we'd hand off the pages to Brandon, and he would have to make up the dialogue that goes in there.
Okay. Very cool. That's awesome.
So I still work like that. When I come up with an idea, I basically do little layouts, and then I put it on the board, and then well, after when I'm drawing it, I think of ideas, but then I usually don't get a chance to script it for like months after I'm finished drawing it when it's my own stuff. And so basically, what I like to do is take a car ride, and I live like an hour or so out of town. So when I'm driving to town, I think of the script as I'm driving down for what I have on the pages. So it's kind of like a roundabout way of doing things.
No, that's seems logical to me. That works for me.
Yeah, because I noticed on the two Kindred books, the first one and the second one, that the first one there's you and two or three other guys that are credited with the story, but in the second one it's solely you that's credited with it. So was that kind of an adjustment for you, it being solely you as opposed to having other guys in it? And did you work that same kind of way doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I turned in a slightly a plot overview. I think is what I turned in for that, because it was like difficult getting like new projects that with new characters and stuff approved at the time because DC had taken over. So Jim would basically pretty much okay anything with Backlash in it that I turned in. So I just turned that in real quick and got the okay. It was originally supposed to be 28 pages. And there's supposed to be some more military stuff in it, but we axed that when we came back and finished it later, just for the sake of time. So.
All right, very good.
And in '98, I know there was there had been the Marvel and Spider-Man crossover, or the Spider-Man and Backlash crossover. Then in '98 they did the series of X-Men and Wildcat books, and you did the X-Men and Wildcats Dark Ages book. But there were
I just did a few pages of that one.
A few pages, okay.
I think Matt Broom was the regular artist, and he was just having problems hitting the deadline. So I came in. I think I did like 3 pages.
Yeah, was that
I think Wolverine was in it?
Was that the first time you drew X-Men, or no? Because you had drawn Wolverine and Fantastic.
I drawn Wolverine in the Fantastic Four issue, yeah. So,
but then
that was my first X-Men character officially. So.
Well, then you started working for Marvel, and you started drawing, a bunch of different X-Men books. How was it going from working at Image to working at Marvel?
Marvel was interesting. The biggest problem was I was doing X-Men Unlimited, which was a quarterly book that came out. It was 28 pages, supposed to be 28 to 30 pages long. Mm-hmm. And the problem was the first few issues were okay, wasn't a big deal. But then they brought, like, Chris Claremont took over the X-Men again. And so instead of it being its own separate story, it was now continuing part of the X-Men monthly book stuff. And they would basically having to fit it in. So it would be like, it was a 5th week book. So it would be, DC did a thing where the annuals would come out in the 5th week. But so this was a quarterly book that came out every 5th week, so it was supposed to fit into the regular series, but they didn't plan it far enough ahead for it. So it would always come in, and Joe Pruitt was the main writer on it, but Chris Claremont would give them the plot ideas, and then they'd get me the script as fast as possible, but I'd have like 3 weeks to draw 28 pages.
Oh, man.
Ooh. And with the team book, I couldn't do it all the time, so it was like constantly being late. And there's actually an issue of that never saw print.
Oh, wow.
It was like a 31 or 32 page story that we did with Annihilus that, as far as I know, never saw print.
Do you have the art for that, or is that sitting in
No, I don't have the art. It was sold years and years and years ago. So I've seen a bit of it pop up every now and then. They had this male Phoenix character was in it. I can't remember what his name was. Jean Grey, they just killed Cyclops off, or actually no, they just made him merge with Apocalypse.
Right.
So
I remember that.
I think I got to draw him like I did draw a backup that I don't think I ever saw print of that too, a little Cyclops story, right when he was like back to being Cyclops, and I just did like a little danger room sequence, and I don't think I ever saw print. So that I wrote and drew. So.
Well, that's a pretty cool collectible for some collector out there to have a whole X-Men story that was never printed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I quite enjoyed drawing Annihilus from what I remember. It's been like 25 years, so.
Cool.
I saw was it in 2003 you did the Thundercats Dogs of War miniseries. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cartoon that was one of the ones I grew up on. Were you a Thundercats fan previously? Did you
Oh
watch?
yeah,
No.
I was a huge fan. I actually had worked with another company. We tried to get the rights like a year or two before that. We did like a whole pitch. I did like a whole 4-page piece that all kind of fits together, where we kind of like kept it similar, but re-envisioned it a little bit. Made some slight modifications to kind of tighten it up, because it was it was that 1 week daily animation series where it basically got villain of the week kind of thing. So
Hmm.
they would occasionally have like the Trial of Lion-O, which was like a 5-day event for 1 week, but mostly it was like their own single self-contained stories. Occasionally they might branch out a little bit or kind of go back to something. So we try to just kind of solidify that story a bit, but that we find that when we turned it in, we finally got it out. How much is it going to cost for the license? Because this is when the new Transformers license had just been given to Dreamwave, and we were told it was $1 million for the license. So that didn't
Oh,
happen.
wow, that's
And then
crazy.
like 7 or 8 months later, Wildstorm starts doing it because DC Warner Brothers owned the license. So
Oh
Right.
man.
so they asked me to do that. So with John Lehman, and I was moving at the time. Towards like in the middle of it or towards the end of it, I was going to be moving, and so I was supposed to not do an issue of it, and then it turns out that the guy who was drawing it couldn't finish it in time, so I wound up going back and drawing part of the issue anyways. So, and I was like sitting around for like 2 weeks. I was like, I could have drawn this thing, waiting for the next plot. I was like,
Oh man.
Wow.
well,
Stuff happens, you know.
it does. It's comics.
Yeah.
Hey, you got anything you want to ask Sal? I feel like I'm dominating the
Oh
questions.
no, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I do have one question, but I'm not sure if this fits in with your lineup of scheme here. I actually have the book, The Joker and Daffy Duck, where you did the
Ah,
cartoon for that. I love the because I used to work for Warner Brothers a long time ago, the studio store. So I'm a big Warner Brothers fan, and I have all the Warner Brothers comics from that. And the one I have for you is what he did Daffy Duck. Did you like doing that? Did you?
yes, that
How?
was actually a
What?
blast.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. I'd like to hear more about that.
Um, oh, we did the Dan DiDio calls me up to do asked me if I'm interested in doing a Flash speed buggy,
Oh, Flash
and I
Speed
was
Buggy.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one I did first, and
Yeah.
I was like, can I use Wally? And he's like, yes. I was like, okay, cool, sold. And I don't remember who was originally supposed to write that. I don't think it was Scott, um, but it wound up being Scott later, and then
Yeah.
he was a big fan of the original Wally run. Well, not a big fan, but he was friends with the writer.
Hmm.
So he brought in the Kilgore for the first part of that, which I was like super excited about.
Yeah.
Um, and I gave him some ideas because he wasn't that sure about the Flash stuff. Um, and he turned in a really cool script. I really enjoyed working on that. And so I had asked Dan if there was anything else because I wasn't working on anything regularly at DC at the time because they wanted me to do this Metal Men book, and I kept saying no
Yeah.
because I didn't want to draw the Metal Men, and I had just drawn like Teen Titans and Justice League and stuff, and I wanted a little bit of a break from team stuff. And
That reminds me. I have
that,
another question, but I'll ask you in a minute. Go ahead.
yeah, so I did the Wally Speed one, and then I said, oh, do you have anything else like that coming out, or anything else I can work on? And he's like, well, we are talking about doing this Joker Daffy, and I was like, oh man, I'd love to do that. And he's like, okay. So I wound up that was pretty much it. And then I got the plot from Scott, and they drew like the first 10 pages, and then they told me to stop because they wanted to change something at the end.
Yeah.
So they
Okay.
modified the end of it. So I didn't have to redraw any pages or anything like that. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so
I
yeah, it was
thought it
just a
was
lot of
cool
fun
though.
because I really liked drawing the Joker because we got to draw him in like Capullo's version in the Teen Titans, and then I got to draw him like I wound up drawing the Joker a lot.
Yeah.
in like several projects and stuff. And I was like, man, I actually really like drawing him because he's just like, if you kind of like just make him like completely over the top, he's just like super fun to do. So
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely. So you say now there's a Wally or a Flash speed buggy issue
yeah,
out there. Well, that's on my hunt list now. I got to put that one down and hunt for that one.
yeah,
I was a big
we
speed
had
buggy
we
fan
had
back in the day too.
yeah. I mean, for some reason I thought it was the motorcycle at first, but that's like the wheelie and the chopper bunch.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
that's was really the chopper
no, no,
bunch.
there's another one. There's like another one with there's like a cool motorcycle and then like the crappy one, which is wheelie and the chopper bunch. There's another cool one
Yeah,
I can never remember the name of. That's just what I was flashing on initially, and then I was like, oh no, it's the speed buggy, so I'm gonna have to draw this damn speed buggy.
yeah.
But they're basically like, oh, you
Oh,
can redesign it though.
okay.
So I mean, he doesn't
Speed
really do
buggy
a
was
lot of stuff, like
back in the day.
a
Speed
lot
buggy was
of like the
cool.
speed
I
buggy
loved it.
things, but
Yeah.
and then there's like we made like three bad speed buggies or something like that too. So there's like
Yeah.
one that only drives in reverse.
Yeah.
So because he's a reverse speed buggy. It
Right.
was,
Right. Like the reverse
so
flash.
yeah, yeah. So it was just kind of like just kind of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like an origin story for why speed buggy was actually speed buggy, why he had a
Right.
personality.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was like
I'm,
human, personified as opposed to just being
yeah.
a vehicle. So
Well, it's on my hunt list now. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. But I love the Joker Daffy cover that you got there. That's an awesome cover for me. I love
oh
it
yeah,
because you
no,
got
I
yeah,
had a blast on that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I would have
that's
actually liked
great.
to have done some more stuff like that, but I guess they
Yeah,
stopped doing it. So, but then of
yeah,
course it's like you only get like they'd only give you like, okay, here's like the five characters you can choose from. So it's like this
uh,
character, uh, uh, Captain Caveman.
right.
Uh, what was it? There's God, I can't remember what his name is.
I never liked Captain Caveman. He was never. I never watched that. That was his show was too silly for me.
Yeah, I mean, they were all pretty much the same. Captain Caveman, Jabberjaw, Scooby
Yeah,
Doo, Wheelie, or Speed
yeah.
Buggy.
Well,
They're
that
all
was
pretty much the same thing. It's four kids and some sort of weird thing that's actually,
something. Yeah,
an animal or an object that is somehow alive.
right,
Can speak English and do around.
right,
I think
right, right, right.
obviously sharks are alive.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah, we got
but
you. We got you.
it was just kind of a weird. It was a weird thing about what they'd have, and I was hoping we could do. I said hoping to do a couple more, but I guess they stopped doing them.
Yeah, they did. They did, unfortunately. So to circle back to my other question, because you reminded me that I wanted to ask you this one. You were saying you drew a lot of teams like the Justice League and stuff like that. Did you have a chance to draw a lot of the Green Lanterns, like the Simon Baz and the Jessica one, or even just Hal and um,
I drew
Collector?
I drew Larfleeze Christmas special
Oh, okay. I actually have that
uh,
too.
with Jeff
Mine was
Johns, so I got to draw
yeah.
Hal a bit. I got to draw
Okay.
Larfleeze, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
That one was like it needed to be done like a week and a half too.
Oh God.
It was a nightmare about like, just trying to get it all done in time. And then they're like, okay, well we'll cut out a couple of the pages and we'll put we'll need some little pictures for Larfleeze Christmas cookies, and we did a maze. And I was like, okay, well, since Warner Brothers owns all the Rankin Bass stuff, can I put like the Bumble and stuff in the maze that I drew? Because I
Yeah.
drew one initially, which is pretty simple, because it was just basically just to show off the little pictures for fun. They're like, can you make the maze more complex? So I like had to go on the computer and make an actual maze.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Uh, but I had to cut and paste all the images so that it all kind of fit, and because I didn't want to redraw stuff.
Right. So you always sound like you're being rushed on jobs. What would you be your ideal time like for like a 28-page book?
About
Like if
six
they gave
weeks.
you about 6 weeks? Okay.
Yeah, for 28 pages. I can do a 22 page book in 4 weeks pretty easy. It's pretty much my average workload, but a lot of times because things were always kind of coming late, and because they kept getting more work because I was able to actually do the work to get stuff in on time
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
fairly
Right.
quick. So I'd usually get a lot of those projects kind of dumped, like they did on the Titans book as well.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
they they shifted the Titans deadline up 2 weeks
oh,
after
Oof.
they had us redraw half of issue one.
oh.
Wow.
So it was just like you basically ate in the entire lead time that we had was completely gone,
Ugh.
and it was a rush to get everything done. And I wanted that first trade to be all me, so I was like, I need to do like the first 6 issues. But on issue 2, we were already like, okay, now we only have 4 weeks to do an issue. So,
Oh gosh.
so
I
yeah.
wanted to ask, what was it like doing that Teen Titans book? Because you had relaunched, you were the artist when the book relaunched for New 52, so it was a whole new thing, new designs and everything. What was it that went into doing all that?
Okay, so initially on that, uh, we were not going to relaunch like a reboot kind of thing. It was really just going to be a relaunch.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to go take the characters and the characters who were the Titans at the time, which was I think the main team that we had without. I'm not sure if Bart was on it or not. Or if it was Gar. I can't. No, it was Gar wasn't on it. It was Bart. Bart was on, not Gar. And they were thinking about disbanding. And then there's like this new threat mechanic came in. Scott wrote the first issue. I was literally laying out the first page when I get an email from Bobby Chase at DC, who was the editor at the time, and she says, "Don't do anything else. Stop."
Oh,
Like, Dan and Jim want to do something else. They want to basically reboot it. So Scott's working on the plot right now. I was like, so basically completely from what we had planned on. And I really liked the first plot. I was really happy with it. I was really looking forward to getting to work on it. And then it turned out to be just like this completely like 180 to nobody, everything being new. So
yeah,
Right. Wow.
yeah, because they made a lot of big changes with
yeah,
New 52. So originally when you started, it wasn't supposed to be like the whole New 52 universe reset that they did.
yeah, it was just going to be like kind of more like Crisis, but no real big event.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of continuing what had happened, just kind of restarting a bunch of stuff. And then, so when that happened, then we wound up having to do, okay, we have to redesign the costumes. We got to do all this other stuff. And so I got to redesign the costumes with Jim and, oh gosh, what is his name? He does the design for the Blue Beetle costume.
I was gonna say, Dan, you're the Blue Beetle, man. You should know that one.
I'm blanking on his Jaime Reyes costume designer. I'm blanking on his name.
I don't remember. I just remember him being introduced in Infinite Crisis. Who was it that drew that? Was it Phil Jimenez that drew that?
No, it wasn't Phil. It was I think his name is a C. But as a group, we he kind of came in and helped out. With Bart gave us a bit of problems. The biggest problem we had was Wonder Girl,
Mm-hmm.
because initially like, oh, just put her in just t-shirts and jeans. It's like we already got a character in t-shirt and jeans because there was no design for Superboy yet.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to have 2 characters in t-shirt and jeans because I hate drawing that. It's so boring.
Yeah.
So we wound up with we were like, okay, well, she doesn't appear like at first, and then we'll kind of come up with some designs later, and it was kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff initially. And then we kind of got like the base kind of set up, and then like it was like right before they were having this big meeting at the DC offices. They were basically showing all the editorial staff what everybody else was working on. And I get a call from Scott Lobdell. He's like, "Hey, can you draw a quick picture for me?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Can you just draw the team real quick?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, we hadn't even like settled on all the designs yet." And so Scott's like, "Oh, but I also want to put Red Robin, and I want to give him like wings of some sort." And I was like, "Oh God, you don't ask for much." Oh, by the way, we need it by tomorrow, colored, at like 2 in the afternoon. I was like, "Oh God, you guys don't ask for much." So I was like trying to rack my brain about the wings, and I kind of came up with a quick idea, which is like basically like the Falcon or what's his name, the Vulture's wings, but
Yeah.
he had like a little button he could press so that he could make them kind of just not be attached to his arms at all time, because I figured that'd be just a pain in the ass to draw. So they could like fall back, and then he could just kind of like press a little button. He's a Batman guy. They got gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
And
is it Cully Hammer that did
yeah, that's it, Kelly Hammer. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
it.
There you go.
I knew it began with a C. I couldn't. I could kind of see the signature a little bit in my head, but I couldn't figure out what the letters were besides the C. Um, and I was like, oh god, this is just temporary wings. I mean, I did a quick pick. Superboy didn't have a costume, so I just put him in a black T-shirt and some black jeans, and I think we had finally settled on Wonder Girl's costume at the time, and so I did it real quick, sent it off, and like Jim sent me a email the next like after the meeting. He's like, "Oh man, I really like that." And I was like, "Okay, I'm planning on changing Red Robin's wings because I just really wasn't happy with them." He's like, "No, they look fine. They look fine." It's like, okay, but they use that for like ads for stuff.
Oh wow.
And I
God.
was just like, oh, so people like, why is Superboy? This is so. I think I'm the person who put the barcode on the arm. I can't remember. But I have like Bart running behind Superboy and putting a kick me sign on it just because it's stupid and I was tired and I need something on there just for fun. And some people were like, "Oh, why is Superboy wearing a kick me cape?" I was like, "Are you serious? Are you?" This was some of the critiques we got. I was like, "Are you serious about that?" I was like, "Okay."
That's crazy.
So you
Fun
had done
times.
a lot of work for DC then. Did you start working for DC because you had such a history of working for Wildstorm and DC bought Wildstorm?
No. Jim was Jim wasn't. I emailed Jim, but he was in Italy. He's like in Italy a lot, and I guess his family there, and
Yeah.
I didn't hear back from him for weeks, but I like sent off some emails to some of the DC editors looking for work, and I got a hit, and they asked me to do uh, what was it, Untold Untold Tales of the Blackest Night or Darkest Night, something like that. I can't remember. It was a Scarecrow as a Sinestro Corps kind of guy, and
Oh
then
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
and I
that.
was finishing that up, and then they asked me to do like a Power Girl Huntress one. And I was like, okay, and just little 8-page stories. And then Jim sends me an email. Hey, I'll talk to the guys and see if they got anything. He's like, oh, I'm already there. Sorry, but thanks. And then I got asked to do what was it, Starman Congarilla. And then I was supposed to do a Jade one shot. I think that's her name.
Yeah. Jade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that never actually wound up materializing. But they're like, I was just waiting on the script, and then like, hey, before you do that, we want you to do something else. And I was like, what? And he's like, it's got gorillas in it. I was like, no. And it wound up being it was with Starman Con Gorilla. That's what it was. And then from that, I got to do Justice League for a little bit. And then I was supposed to finish off to like Justice League 60, finish off that run till they rebooted it with uh, New 52. But they pulled me off of that to do Titans, the Teen Titans.
Right.
So,
Right. So
No,
that Untold Tales. I'm sorry. That Untold Tales of Blackest Night. Were you the cover penciler or the whole thing?
oh, I just drew like an 8-page story in it.
Oh, just do an 8-pager in there. Okay.
Yeah, it was like a big prestige kind of thing. And I drew the Scarecrow Sinestro one.
Right. Right. Okay.
So
Yeah, because they got the Sinestro, in the Fear Core outfit on the cover as well.
yeah. So I guess they didn't have an artist for that at the time or something. I don't know.
Uh, okay.
I took it. I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. So, but I'll draw it. Yeah.
so I had read something that said that you had been actively trying to get DC to reintroduce Wally West in New 52, and then they finally
Yes.
did with the Flash Annual 3. And what was it? What was it about Wally that that made you really want them to bring him back?
That was the Flash I read.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started reading comics, Wally was on issue 3. So I first started reading comics. I was like, oh well, what books do I want to try to reading besides the X-Men?
Mm-hmm.
And a friend had Wonder Woman, and I loved George Perez's art. So I was like, oh, I'll pick up Wonder Woman. And I was like, oh, I like the Flash. He didn't like the Flash, so we didn't have any Flash. But we didn't have a comic book store, so I went to the Walden Books, and they had Flash 3 with the Kilgore on it.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh. So I picked that up. I really liked that Jackson Geist did the art. Ooh, like that a lot. So I just kind of started reading Wally, and I read Wally up for a while until I got frustrated because they kept giving him his powers and taking away his powers, giving him his powers, taking away his powers, giving him his powers, taking away his powers. It is this whole Porcupine Man thing, and I was like, okay, finally gets his speed back. There's this great issue where um, he gets his powers back, but he's like super fast like he was before. He doesn't know how to control it, and he just tears like a giant line through the United States as he's trying to deliver something.
Yeah.
And this turns the gun to molten lava kind of stuff. It takes him like all of Texas to stop when he finally realizes what's happening. And he's finally got his powers back. And then like, oh no, this Porcupine Man story came in, and he's like, no Wally for like issues. I was like, okay, I'm done. But I came back later when Mark Waid was on it, so I really liked what he was doing with the character. So,
Oh, he had a fantastic run on it.
yeah, so that's like the Wally that I really wanted to work on, because I'd read Wally in the George Perez Teen Titans as well, so he was kind of like my Wally.
Yeah. So what was it, or how was it? How did it feel that you successfully lobbied to bring him back, and then they said, "Oh, well, you draw."
I didn't successfully lobby. They kept saying no.
Oh.
There's no, and then Jeff Johns basically said, "I want to do Wally," and they're like, "Sure, Jeff, you can do whatever you want." So, and so I was supposed to be doing Aquaman.
Uh-huh.
I was supposed to take over Aquaman regularly, and then the editor on Aquaman, Brian Cunningham's like, You didn't hear this from me, but they're bringing Wally back," and I was like, "What?" So I immediately called Dan or emailed Dan. I was like, "Look, I need to be part of this." And they're like, "Okay, well, they put him on the." So I didn't get to draw any of the actual book that he came back in. What was it? I think it might have just been Rebirth #1 or something like that. But I got to draw him in the Titans book, so I got to design his costume.
Nice.
So that was fun. So.
And at DC, you worked on a lot of different stuff. We talked about Justice League and Titans and Aquaman and Flash and Batman and Superman and Nightwing. Did you have a favorite one from that time, or which one that you enjoyed?
My favorite book was the Flash Speed Boogie, because I got to draw just Wally.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Wally fan, and then I did Flash Forward with Wally, which I was really happy with, and I was actually supposed to do a Wally series after that, but then COVID hit and they got rid of Dan, so that all kind of collapsed. So.
That Flash Forward series was a good one.
Yeah, I was trying to fix the kind of debacle they made with that.
Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah, Dan does not like Wally.
Yeah, I think he doesn't like Nightwing either. Didn't he keep trying?
He does not like Nightwing either. No, those are the two characters I know he doesn't like. Two of my favorite characters, though, Nightwing and Wally. So.
Yeah, he just wants to wipe out all of the new Teen Titans, I guess.
Yeah.
Outside of that, there was one I guess we skipped over. Is that in 2006 I saw that you had started working on the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter comics. You did a bunch of them, and it was a series of books. Had you been a fan of the books before you started doing the comics?
I had actually been reading them. My wife had them.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the cover on one of them. Yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, but I actually picked up a couple things that I really liked by doing that. There's that in the Coldfire trilogy that I really liked. I just thought the cover was really nice and picked it up. And I read the stories. Oh, that's kind of fun. I like vampires and werewolves. I love that stuff. And so I was talking to, I did some stuff with the Dable Brothers. It was, oh God, what was it called? Oh, it was a medieval kind of knight thing. I wasn't particularly interested in it. I hadn't read the story much. But they were like, oh, we're talking to Laurel about getting this Anita Blake stuff. So I did some designs for that and everything. She liked it, so I wound up doing some of that. There's this whole deal with Marvel buying part of it, and it just kind of became a screwy, weird thing. But that was fun to do for a bit. Laurel's very picky though, so
that's cool.
It's like trying to get everything approved and on time is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like working with a licensed property, so you
Yeah.
have to like, get everything approved by a license holder. So sometimes,
You got to do the red tape.
yeah, there's a lot of red tape, so it becomes kind of a quagmire after a while, especially if you kind of want to get stuff done, and you got a kind of a lot of stopping and starting on things. So
Yep. Understand.
And a few years ago, I saw that you draw the you worked for Valiant for a while drawing the Bloodshot series when they had relaunched.
yeah,
How was it working on that book?
the book itself was fun. Tim's great. I still talk to Tim. Get to work with Adelso Corona, who's on Spawn with me, and Andrew Dahlhaus, we're old friends. It was fun. Getting paid was difficult.
Yeah.
They're starting. I guess that's when they're starting to have their money problems. So I'd turn in like 8 pages worth of work, and I get paid for 4.
Oh.
Ooh.
And then they do that for like 2 times, and then all of a sudden I get like a bigger check for like 12 pages. I was like, but I'd already turned in this, and so I it's kind of funny because I just started working on that when DC approached me to do Flash Forward,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh man, it's got Wally in it. That's what I wanted to draw, but I didn't want to screw over Andrew and Adelso, so I basically went out and drew both of them. I drew
Oh
both
wow.
of them in like 8 or 9 months. So
Wow.
it was very difficult.
That's intense.
But it made me work really fast, and it took me like 6 months to kind of get out of that groove because I was just like on hyper overdrive. It was
Right.
difficult. I could still kind of call it up every now and then, but I think age is now caught up with me.
Lots of caffeine. Lots of caffeine. Late nights with coffee.
No, I don't do late nights anymore. I stopped
Oh,
doing that.
anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Good
when
for
you're
you.
younger, you do that stuff all the time.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
there's
yeah.
what I would do. We do on all of these Wildstorm books is I have like 4 pages left to draw, and I just do an all nighter and then just draw them in 24 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's like, but I can't do that anymore. So
About how long does it take you to do, a page, give or take, depending on, if it's a splash page or the amount of detail and
it
stuff.
really depends. 4 to 8 hours is like an average page, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and then like a team book generally 8 to 10 or 11 hours. They did like I remember when I did the X-Men. What was that called? Recently,
Oh yeah.
Legends, X-Men Legends. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I was like 11 hours on all those pages, especially towards the end when Fabian had to be like drawing like the X-Men and what are they called?
Because that was the one where they had
Starjammers and the other those
Yes.
Adam
Right.
X
Imperial
too.
guards from the X-Men in the
Yeah.
Blue Zone.
So the Shi'ar
Yeah,
Empire.
yeah, those guys. Yeah, I was like, oh god.
So one of our team members, he's not on with us right now, but his name is Jamie. He's a big Cyclops fan. What's your take on Cyclops and drawing
It's
him?
my favorite Marvel character. Yeah.
We joke because Jamie's not a big fan of him, because of what they've done with him recently, the comics and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
every
not
time
super happy with the recent comics, but
yeah,
the old
right.
stuff, yeah, he's my favorite guy.
I love him too. Actually, I think he's a great character, to tell you the truth. But
Yeah.
yeah, I have some of your X-Men Legends books with the Cyclops cover as well. So that's
I
pretty
would
cool.
love to do more Marvel.
So when you when you say it takes you that long per page, about how much of that time is spent just kind of laying out the page, and how much of it is the actual like nuts and bolts doing
Okay,
the drawing on
the
it?
laying out of the page, unless for some reason I get some sort of word block, that takes me no more than 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
Um,
that's impressive.
yeah, that is not. I think that all those years of laying out laying out on the boards, it's
Mm-hmm.
just automatic. It doesn't, what needs to be done on this page, what needs to be, that's it's so simple. So basically, it's basically the construction doesn't take nearly as long as the rendering is the longest.
Okay.
because you have to go in and oh, this guy's shiny, this guy's dark, all these dark parts on the costume. So that requires all of this rendering. But then sometimes it's kind of this. Oh, then if we have Sunspot and he's gonna have these damn Kirby crackles everywhere. Well, it's easy to draw him because he's just a big X. The
Right.
crackles are tedious and time consuming. So
Yeah.
especially for a pencil, it's much easier with if you ink it yourself with just a Sharpie, but
Did
it
you
doesn't
ever
look as nice.
did,
So
yeah, did you ever have any issues with like proportioning sizes for like Juggernaut, who has to be really huge compared to Wolverine, who should be shorter than most?
yeah, I mean, I
You
have a
know?
hard time drawing the big guys, like
Ah,
like uh, I always had a problem with the thing. The thing was always a pain in the ass to draw. Just getting him right because he's this weird combination of realistic but cartoony because of that head.
Hmm.
right,
And he doesn't have a neck.
right.
Yeah.
No neck. Uh-huh.
So if getting that to kind of work right, I don't think I ever got it until I did like a Fantastic Four cover like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You asked me to do a Fantastic Four cover while I was working at Marvel, and I was like, okay. And I was like, oh man, I gotta draw the Thing again. Oh, my nemesis. But actually, it's like, oh, I finally got him, and then I don't get to draw him ever again. So.
Oh.
Oh, damn.
And well, yeah, recently in 2021 you started doing was it, or no, yeah, 2021 you started working for Image again with Spawn, and you started that long run on Gunslinger Spawn. So well, how was it that you went back to working for Image and working for McFarlane doing that
So
book?
weird. I was on X-Men books, and they offered me 4 books to draw, besides this 8-page Chris Claremont story.
Hmm.
And I was like, cool. And then it wound up being just 3 books because the strip didn't come in on time for one of the regular X-Men books, so it was just did like a one-off, which was fun because I got to draw Cyclops, and Jean and Storm, and they're like, well, you can draw them whatever costumes you want. And I was like, really?
Oh,
Ooh.
Okay, which ones? And I was like, oh man, I got to pick. So I went with the Walt Simonson ones. They didn't color them right. They colored them as the I think Jean was colored as the green one. They did something. They colored something wrong. I think it was. I'm not sure if it was the costumes or I know that they colored the first part wrong. I had Jean was using her telepathic powers, and I was like, oh, since kind of coming back to the X-Men, I'm gonna go and pull some stuff that Jim did when he was on the X-Men for Jean using her telepathic powers. There's a scene. She's meets up with the Shadow King because I just drawn the Shadow King, and the Chris Claremont thing is like, I'll bring it all kind of around. So when I had Jean using her psychic powers, I had her gold, but they
Yeah.
colored her pink. So
uh,
it's like it's like you missed the point. Oh well, oh well. But I was working on the X-Men, and that's all they offered me. There was those books, and so I was finishing up the second X-Men book, the Legends book, and I was like, hey, do you guys I'm almost done with this? Do you guys have anything else? I'm like, well, frankly, we weren't expecting you to be done so soon, so we don't know yet. And I was like, okay, well, let me know. And then I went and checked. I was talking to my friend Andrew Dahlhaus, and he's like, oh, Delso's got like all these fans on followers on Instagram. I was like, really? I need to go check my Instagram account, and because I don't use it.
Yeah.
So I went on the Instagram account and I was like, huh, I got a message here. And I clicked on it and it was from Todd. And it was like from like 3 months earlier. I was like,
oh,
shit. So I sent him a quick email. I just replied to him back real quick, and then I sent him my email. So he contacted me, and then I think like wound up calling me the next like a couple days later, and he asked me to do some covers for him. Just the Spawn Universe 1 cover. He's just doing a bunch of covers. And they wanted me to do a cover. And I was like, okay, cool. And again, we got some more stuff if you want to do it too. And I was like, yeah, sure, that might be fun. And I did the cover, and he really liked it. He wanted to ink it, so we were just kind of talking on the phone, and he was like talking about some of the projects he's got coming up. And I was having to do I do a thing on Patreon where I just kind of draw like some random pictures every month, and I needed some ideas for some pictures, and he mentioned the Gunslinger guy, and I was like, huh, I'll just try drawing him. And as on a whim, I just sent it to Todd. He's like, oh man, I love it. And then like the next week, he called me up and offered me the gig. And like
Wow.
Marvel hadn't offered me anything, and I was like, okay. And this is, offered me a higher page rate because Marvel was actually a lower rate than my DC rate. So it's like, oh. And Todd offered me a higher rate than both of them, so I was like, well, I'll go with Todd.
Yeah.
I got regular work now because this was like right after
Yeah.
the first year of COVID. Everything was kind of starting
Yeah.
to get kind of
Crazy.
back on track.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but I have some regular work now. And then like for like the next week, Marvel offered me like 5 more issues.
Oh.
Wow.
But it's like, oh, sorry, I already got that other stuff now, so I can't do it. So
And
Wow.
you,
That's a
I was gonna say, you had a long run on Gunslinger Spawn, and then you just recently switched over to being the artist on the main Spawn title,
yeah,
um,
regular Spawn.
or regular Spawn. What was it that brought the change about? And didn't the previous artist on Spawn, he's taken over or took over
Yeah, we
Gunslinger?
just swapped. We just swapped books. Todd basically, we hadn't actually decided. He was like, okay. He's like, oh, I want to get together and have a meeting with you about stuff. And I was like, oh, great. And he's gonna fire me. That's just my brain takes it. He's like, no. We want to know what you want to do next. Do you want to stay on Gunslinger? Do you want to do something else? Uh, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. And I was like, uh, I had an idea, and I was gonna, we weren't, hadn't sure if we were gonna spin out Gunslinger with this one character, or we were gonna keep it and just do it in Gunslinger. But I was gonna write this story. We still might do it. I don't know. Um, but he's like, calls me up like a couple months later. He's like, hey, how about this instead? For right now, what if you just go do Spawn? He said, coming up on like 350, so I want to do something kind of new. And I was like, yeah, sure, because people had asked me before. It's like, oh, we need to do a Spawn run. We need to do a Spawn run. And I was like, well, maybe we'll do it after Gunslinger. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. We'll just do it this way. So, so I took a few months off so I could we moved to the new place, and uh, just kind of started. I'm on 355 right now.
Hmm.
352, I think, comes out in another week or so. I
That's a
think
good
I
one.
just got the notification for
yeah.
the comps. So, so we got a bit of a lead time on it.
Yeah,
So,
it's a pretty good one, I'd say.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on page 5. So,
What what would you say? Is there any big difference between working on the two books?
well, I thought there was gonna be, but issue 350 was basically just a big old brawl.
Hmm.
And then I was like, oh, we're gonna kind of go back to normal. So I'm just gonna basically be drawing a lot of Spawn, creeping around an alleyway. So it's gonna be lots of blacks. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to think about doing lots of blacks and doing all of this kind of dark tones and more stylish with the cape. And then they're like, okay, but now for the next story arc, no one's got powers, so we need a new costume, and we can't give them the big cape or the big giant chains. So we had to like trim everything down. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to draw the big cape, which covers up all the backgrounds. So now I'm going to draw all these different backgrounds again. And this one has a lot of vampires in it, so I'm drawing a lot of vampire guys. And of course, they have wings, so I have to draw the damn wings.
Oh.
That seems
So I
like the
think
story of your career that you're just throwing curveballs, when you
Yeah,
explain.
well, you got to be flexible.
right. Sounds like you don't like drawing backgrounds though.
Uh, no one likes drawing backgrounds, except for
Backgrounds are
there
boring
are those. There's a
to,
few
to, to
few people
draw.
who really like drawing backgrounds, and you can tell because they'll get like a big splash page, and it'll be like the characters are kind of small, but there's this big background. Or if I get like a big splash page, the character's going to be main, unless it's like, oh, it's 2 tiny characters standing in front of like a big building. I'm drawing the main character big in the foreground, and then the castle in the background, just because it's just not that much fun to draw.
Yeah.
I hate using rulers.
I
Oh.
I'm the same way. I draw too, and I'm the same way too. It's fun drawing the main figure, the couple main figures, but at least for me, when it comes to the backgrounds, I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, I can't figure out what to put in the background. Like I can never think of anything good.
Well, I usually put it like in the layout, like I'll scribble like a little something in there. Rubble is great. Warehouses are awesome to do because you don't have to be that exact, especially if they're old and run down.
Hmm.
Always
Yeah,
fun.
true.
But yeah, I hate using rulers. It messes up the flow so much. It's just because you have to, it have to be measured out, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and make sure the perspective's correct. If it's just like a abandoned building, it doesn't. Oh, the wall's caving in, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't match quite right, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's like I
Uh,
can make the edges a little scraggly because it's brick and brick's not perfectly straight.
yeah, yeah. Well, what I usually do with a lot of that stuff, especially if it's like a semi-rundown building, but it's still in relatively good condition, I'll lightly do uh, the basic building shapes with the ruler.
Hmm.
And then I'll just go back with the pencil and just freehand the rest of it so that it looks rough. It looks a little more organic.
Throw in some broken windows.
Yeah, broken
Yeah,
windows,
there you go.
boarded up windows, so you don't
Yeah,
have
there
to
you
draw
go.
the broken window. There you
There you go.
go.
That's even better. That's
Crates,
even better.
boxes. Oh yeah.
So
So go ahead. I was going to ask you about the characters you haven't had a chance to draw yet, or ones that you would like to do.
yeah, are there any
Well, what
that you haven't done? Like I know you mentioned Daredevil, and I don't recall seeing any Daredevil stuff from you. Is that one that's on your list of someone you'd like to do? Or
I would like to do Daredevil. I think maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much that religion's part plays in the story now. It played a somewhat huge role, but not like a massive role when I read it.
well,
I
now
read
they have
Daredevil
a
for a
movie.
while. I haven't read it in a while, so I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I don't know if that would kind of be something that I'd be interested in or not. I love the character. I love drawing the leapy characters, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I
Yeah.
might actually want to do the Fantastic Four again. I've been kind of thinking about that. I don't know why, because I finally got the damn thing down. That's probably why.
I was going to say, because you got things
Finally got the thing
down.
down. I could do the Fantastic Four. Well, I'd
There
like
you
to
go.
actually be able to do it and not have to rush.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I think that's a huge thing. I mean, like we're pretty far ahead on the Spawn thing, which is nice.
What about
But
like
yeah, I
Venom
mean,
with
I'd
all the
still like to.
symbiotes?
Yeah,
Sorry. Go
it's
ahead.
I mean, Spider-Man might be fun to do at some point. Um,
I'd love to see you do some more Spider-Man. Like I said, when you drew him in Spider-Man and Backlash, especially I forget what page it was, but the first issue when it was a couple pages in, there was that big splash of Spider-Man swinging out.
Spider-Man
Like,
swinging through the city. Yeah,
oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
yeah. No, it's kind of weird. Apparently Marvel and DC have this thing where if you really like the character, they don't want you to work on it. I
Yeah,
know
that's
Dan DiDio was
crazy.
big on that, and I think Joe Quesada was really big on it too. But the funny thing is, I was never like a big Spider-Man fan.
Oh, okay.
I like Spider-Man. I never liked the Peter Parker stuff.
Hmm.
Right.
Because it's just like, oh, he's down on his luck. Oh God, it just gets so boring. It's just over again. Oh, he doesn't have any money again. Okay, God, he's just really bad at that. So he's one of
Yeah.
the smartest guys on the planet, and he's got no money. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Go
Right.
work
Right.
for Reed
Right.
Richards for a little bit. Just tell me Spider-Man, they'll hire you. You go, I'll work for Iron Man. You'd be good.
Well,
Give me
Um,
a little side cash.
and they did that in the Marvel movies. So
yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Well,
Absolutely. Go
speaking
ahead,
of
Dan.
the not just not just characters, but are there any creators out there that you haven't had a chance to work with that you'd like to?
I would love to work with Louise Simonson.
Oh, she's
Oh yeah,
nice. I got to chat with her at the last Baltimore Comic Con. She
Yeah,
is amazing.
I loved her X Factor. Like Art Adams
Oh
got me
yeah.
into the comics. The Simonsons solidified my love for the X-Men, the original X Factor team. I love
Yeah.
those books. I'd love to do something with her. Um,
oh yeah. What artists would you say kind of influenced your style? I know you mentioned Art Adams and a few others. Who would you say, when you decided to kind of figure out what you wanted to draw? Who was it you looked at?
oh, it was Art Adams. He was the main guy. He at the time it was kind of like Jim Lee before Jim Lee.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He was the guy everybody was trying to draw like
Yeah.
Art Adams. And then I tried to put in some Mark Silvestri
Oh
and
yeah.
Kevin McGuire, and it just turned into a colossal mess. I loved
Oh.
Kevin and Mark Silvestri's stuff. It just didn't work well together. At least I couldn't get it to work. So I was like, I was having lots of problems. I was like, oh man, this isn't working at all. What the hell am I going to do? I was like, okay, you know what? Back to basics. Let's go back to
Yeah.
Art Adams, and we'll start from square one again. And that's when Jim got popular on the X Men. He first started the X Men, and I was like, oh, hey, look at this. So there's a lot of Art Adams in there.
Yeah.
But there's also Jim has a lot of John Byrne and Michael Gold and his stuff as well. So I call it the base. So my base is Art Adams. Jim's base is John Byrne.
Yeah.
Jeff Scott Campbell's base is Art Adams. Liefeld's base is Art Adams. So you could tell Art Adams was very popular at that time amongst this group of kids. So
Yeah, I've heard him listed as a big influence by a lot
yeah,
of
so he's like, to me, he's like the granddaddy of Image. Because Todd has some Art Adams in him too. So it's like everybody goes back to art at Image, except for like Sylvester Reeves, John Buscema is his base. And Eric Larson, I want to say Kirby, but I think he's got some Simonson in there too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that.
the squareness, especially of the hands.
Yeah.
I love Simonson because I have some Simonson in me too. Because whenever I'm thinking, it's like, okay, I need a big explosion here, a big power thing. What should I do? Oh, you think Simonson, Thor, X Factor, you know.
Right.
Fantastic Four. That's where my brain goes whenever. Right.
Do you remember the Steel character? She also pitched it on that, which was amazing as well.
Steel.
For the rated Superman, the John Henry.
Superman. Yeah.
Yep,
She was working on the Superman books at the time of the Superman.
Yep.
So, she's a favorite. I like her stuff quite a bit. Chris Claremont would be cool to work with. I'd actually like to do what's it called? Alpha Flight.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I was a huge Alpha Flight fan. I loved Alpha Flight. The John Byrne stuff, so good. That's where I first saw Jim's stuff, so that's why I was like.
Do you have a favorite character from Alpha Flight?
A Guardian.
Oh, you like Guardian best?
Design.
Yeah, because from the X-Men and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I really like Sasquatch in that a lot. The story, I like the idea of those ancient spirits, those elemental spirits in Canada. I thought that was a really cool idea.
I agree with that.
But I do like Box quite a bit too.
Okay.
So I know, when we talked before we started the interview, you said your blogs that you had, the password got changed and you can't go on there anymore. But I saw something on there that said that you had stopped doing commissions, because you didn't really like doing them. Is that still a policy? Do you not do commissions, or do you take commissions again?
I have a commission list through my Patreon that I do, but yeah, I still don't. I'm not a big commission fan. I just do them in between projects because they're kind of expected. I don't particularly like. It's not like they're bad. It's just like I don't know. I'm not a big I don't like to do pinups. I like to draw pages.
Yeah.
I like telling the stories, so that's what I enjoy. So I tell you, I'll do a few of them. I did I did one last month. The problem is I have this big list, and then I go through the list, and half the time people are neither don't have their same email address anymore, or they just don't bother responding because they don't want a commission at the time.
Right.
So it's like they're like, all right, I kind of have 2 planned a month, and then when I'll email the people, and then I won't hear anything for a bit. So because I don't want to email 2 people, don't hear from the 2, and then contact 2 other people, and then the first 2 are like, oh hey, I want my commission now, and then I'm stuck doing 4.
Yeah.
My time scheduled to do like the Spawn book, so I do basically I'll draw 20 pages a month of that.
Yeah.
And then 4 pages for 4 things for Patreon, like 2 commissions, and then 2 original pieces for Patreon, and then try to squeeze in creator and stuff at the time. So
do you go to any cons, or do you do any cons?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm not I don't like to travel much.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
And then during the lockdown, I developed a food issue, so I can't eat out anymore. So
I think that's just old age. I got that too.
It's a food intolerance. It's a chemical intolerance, so I can't
okay.
I have to make all my own food almost. There's only a few things I can eat that are actually pre-made. I can have only Hershey's chocolate.
Oh man.
So I can only have the Hershey's Kisses or the candy bar. I can only have certain types of potato chips, and I have to freaking order them online because none of the local places carry them.
Ooh,
that sucks.
Yes, and I can only have chicken and beef. Can't have turkey or pork anymore.
Ouch.
Uh, I can have a very limited amount of bread. It has to be white bread. I can only have white potatoes. Um, I can't have hardly any vegetables. Most cooking oils are bad. Uh,
Oh
I can
wow.
only have garlic and salt. I can't have pepper or any other
Well,
things like. Yeah, so it's pretty much every place. I can eat out like I can have like two donuts,
No.
a special kind of donuts. I can only have the chocolate cream, glazed, or sugar donuts at Dunkin' Donuts.
okay.
I can eat at McDonald's once a day,
Oh,
but I can
I
only
can't
yeah,
either. No McDonald's.
but I can only have a plain hamburger. I can't have
Wow.
anything on it. So so
Well,
yeah, it's
that's rough.
sucks.
I'm sorry to hear
So
that.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry to
so
hear that.
it's like people, oh, you do this show, and it's like, yeah, I want to be able. I don't like to not have to be able. I want to be able to eat every now and then. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
going to a show means I can't eat.
Okay. Fair enough.
So
So I got your Patreon up there if anybody wants to check it out. One thing I always do like to ask artists, that do commissions is, what would you say is the coolest commission that you've gotten where someone requested something and you're like, oh man, that is a pretty cool idea. And what would you say is the strangest request that you've gotten?
mm, okay, the coolest commissions is probably there's a couple of them. I got to do a couple 4-page backlash commissions. I did one with was it backlash against the War Guard. I can't remember who was in it. I know it was backlash, but there was like 3 or 4 War Guard, and then it was backlash and Jody because the guy's a really big Jody fan. His daughter, and Taboo against Hellspawn.
Oh
There's like
wow,
four-page ones, and then he had them like inked and colored up and everything, and like really nice. Those were really cool. Got to do one of my contract lawyer is a huge Legion of Superhero fan, so I've drawn like I think 20 or 30 pieces of the Legion characters, single ones, but I
wow.
have it so that the background all connects,
Oh, that's
so you
cool.
can kind of put it all up, so it all kind of matches.
Yeah.
Uh, the weirdest one, oh, that one I'm not sure about. Because mostly it used to be some people had me do like their characters and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why I stopped doing them because I get asked to draw like weird characters who like weren't uh, uh, like I don't think canon, but they're like they're creator own stuff, and
Yeah.
so they're like like just a guy in a gi. It's like, it's not that fun to do. So
Yeah.
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
that exciting as like drawing like
Dan asks
Psylocke
this
from the
question a
X-Men.
lot. Yeah,
Huh?
Dan asks this question a lot to a lot of artists when we do interviews like this and such like that. And some of the stuff they come back with are just out and out like, wow, really?
Yeah, I mostly now it's like a lot of X-Men stuff.
Yeah,
That's basically what most of it is. So some of it's Wildstorm, uh, sometimes DC, but mostly X-Men related, which is cool. I mean, I got to do like a double page spread of like the X-Men fighting Sentinels,
yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
that
cool.
was really cool. But they wanted to turn sideways, so it
Oh,
was like
like
a
landscape.
big double
Yeah,
page spread,
yeah.
kind of sideways one. I do my Psylocke popping in my head. Um, but I had one guy wanted me to do like a 10-page spread. I can't remember what it was. But I was like, I can't, I don't have time for that right now. I'm on a regular book. If I'm on a regular book, I can't do like a lot of the
Right.
commissions. So I was like, right now it's
Well, that's fair.
limited. Yeah, it's limited until I can have the time. Because I mean, it'll take me like those 4-page ones usually take me about 3 or 4 days to
So
draw.
when you say a 4-page one, is that like 4 pages that would like all connect?
Yeah, it'd be like a 4-page splash of a big
Wow.
fight scene.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, like the Hellspawn one, I think I had the Behemoth, which was like that ship that the Daemonites were on behind him in the background.
Oh wow.
And I got to draw Wreckage and I love drawing Hellspawn. He's great. There was a fight in Backlash 9 between Backlash and Hellspawn. So that's what the whole catalyst for that idea was. So
Okay.
Outside of comics, your comic work, I saw something I thought was interesting, that you do work as a or I don't know if you still do or did, as a paleo artist drawing dinosaurs that would get published in various books. How was that something that you started doing?
I am a huge paleo nerd.
Hmm.
I like my favorite things are the comic books, dinosaurs, dogs, and anime and manga. So,
Nice.
so I always loved dinosaurs, and so I did it, kind of dabbled in it. About 5 or 6 years ago, kind of got mostly a lot of CG stuff now, so computer graphics stuff. So I just do not have the patience to learn that. So it's not as fun looking on the computer like that as it is like just drawing the stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, I did some stuff in a paper, and then for some news press releases and stuff for some Velociraptor. One was like a scavenge. Both of them were scavenging. One was a scavenging a Protoceratops skeleton, and I did that in like 3 hours, so they needed it real quick. The other one was for Velociraptor like dinosaur who swallowed a pterosaur. Was it a wing? Like that big wing finger that they had. I can't remember. I got to draw some pictures for that. Some stuff for some museums.
That's cool though.
You know, but
I
yeah,
love
I'm a
that.
huge fan. I don't do it as much anymore because I just don't have the time. Um,
Yeah.
but I do like follow some paleontologists, and I know a few of them. So it's kind of
Very
cool. If I
cool.
have any real questions, I can ask them. They usually respond. Uh, but yeah, I've just always been a huge dinosaur nerd. So,
Do you ever go to
and
Todd and be like, "Hey, look, it'd be awesome if you could find a way to get a dinosaur into
he
Spawn"?
does that. There's
Or
yeah, I've drawn a bunch of dinosaurs on Spawn.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
First issue, the bad guy has a museum, and then there's dinosaurs in the museum. And then there's this other woman called Dakota, and she has the ability. She's got dinosaurs that she keeps on like a ranch. She can teleport them back in to help her out.
Oh
She's
man.
she's the clown's daughter,
Okay.
and
okay,
so has this demonic power to bring in the dinosaurs. So I drew a bunch of dinosaurs and stuff, and Gunslinger. There's just a ton of stuff.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
so yeah, I did that, and there's some werewolves in there too. We did like a Frankenstein werewolf guy who's got like a
nice.
bunch of different kind of werewolves patched together. That was fun.
That's very
Uh,
cool.
Usually at the end, towards the end of the interview, I like to ask everyone if you have anything coming out that we should keep an eye on. So I know you said you're a few issues ahead on Spawn. Do you have anything else in the future that you plan to be working on, or is it just Spawn for the foreseeable future?
It's Spawn for the foreseeable future. I'm trying to get some of this out. I'm waiting on some people because I need some help because it's just all of it. Plus, do the regular book. I
Hmm.
know somebody who's like starting up a publishing company, so I might be putting a project out through them. But it's almost inked, and then I just need to get it colored, and then we can go the Lost Serpent prints. I did a few like short stories of it like last year that came out, um, but I have like a 52-page story drawn,
Wow.
almost inked, and it's written. I just need to get it finished ink. Sal Regla's inking it. Andrew Dalhouse is coloring it. And then I got another project that Sal wants to ink, so he's going to start on that after he finishes this. And then putting some stuff up on my Patreon. I'm doing a little backlash short for this 30th anniversary this year.
Wow.
Oh,
So
Yeah, I
I
guess it
got,
has been that long.
yeah, I know. I was like, I didn't even realize it until someone mentioned it to me. This is how it is.
uh,
What are you doing for Backlash's 30th anniversary? Like, what? Oh, crap,
what?
it is, isn't it? And so because I was just gonna put like a bunch of like fake covers on there on my Patreon, and then I asked them, and they're like, no, we'd rather have like a little short story.
That's cool.
So I was like, okay. So I put the first 5 pages up a couple weeks ago. It's not like finished. It's mostly finished. I'm still working on the lettering, finishing it out. It's base lettering, almost done.
Mhm.
But I gotta learn how to letter the damn thing. So, That was complicated because I have an older Mac and it has an older version of Clip Studios on it, and the one tool kept disappearing on me.
Oh,
So
Right.
I bought a new Mac and we hadn't actually used it yet. So we've
Okay.
got that up and running, and then we got the, the, the newest version of Clip Studios on there. So hopefully
Okay.
when I get the next 5 pages done, so I'm on page 6, so almost done.
Very cool.
But yeah, it
Cool.
takes me like a couple months to get everything kind of done. It took me like a week just to kind of letter the damn thing, just to learn the damn program. But because I'm learning how to do it on that, I can now letter some of the other stuff that I've little shorts and stuff I have drawn. I can just kind of put them up on the Patreon as well. So uh,
That's very cool. Yep, we got your
yeah,
Patreon up in here
cool. Yeah,
on the show, so people can see that as well. So everybody, please check out his Patreon for his stuff there. So
yeah.
definitely check that out.
Check out his Patreon. Check out his Twitter here too. I know that you're active on there, and I presume that whenever there's forward movement, some more on your creator-owned stuff, that you'll be posting about it on there as well.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, once I know for sure what's going on, because I mean the self-publishing like through Kickstarter and whatever it is kind of like I don't want to say like the last resort, but if I can't like find something I'm comfortable with doing otherwise, then I'll definitely put it up through there. I just need some time, and unfortunately, like, I wasn't planning on doing the Spawn stuff. That just kind of fell into my lap because I was actually going to launch the stuff, the creator-owned stuff, before the Spawn. Probably I was going to do the X-Men, and then launch the creator-owned stuff, and I was like, Spawn stuff fell on my lap. I was like, I can't really pass this up because I developed that food problem. So I had to have a nice kitchen and stuff so I can make all this damn food so I can eat. And
Yeah.
my wife and I wanted to move because we lived out in the boonies before, so I bought some property that's we were on off grid, so I bought some property that's on grid. So so we just moved a couple months 6 months ago.
Okay.
So getting set up here properly. So that's why we don't have I'm planning on eventually getting a camera and stuff. I have the bar for the camera. We just haven't set the camera up or tested it
Right.
out because I don't know how fast the internet connection is going to be on the upload because it's satellite.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So the download's fine. We can stream and everything like that, but the upload's slower. So
Right.
I'm not sure if there's going to be much of a lag. So I might be able to do videos. Audio is fine, but video is, from what I've read, is a bit of an issue sometimes. So
Oh,
Okay. You can always test it out with us. I'm just
yeah.
throwing it out there. You can always test it out with us.
On your Twitter, it doesn't have a picture of you for anyone looking. It's a picture of this character. Is this the character for your creator-owned
yeah,
thing?
that's I call them Basilisk. It's for the Lost Serpent Prince.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the Backlash before Backlash.
Okay.
He's the
Okay.
character. I basically took my original concept for Backlash before it was called Backlash and reworked it. So like originally Backlash was supposed to be a vampire, which is why he could mist and had
Oh,
healing abilities. Um, but that was changed to Team 7, whatever vague abilities those were. They never actually, if you read the Team 7 miniseries, they don't actually tell you. It's just some sort of psychic powers.
yeah.
So, so but this is all kind of based in, he's a vampire guy from like, there. It's not a multiverse, but it is. But it's not like there's like 5 versions of the same guy. It's basically uh, there's separate dimensions, and so like one dimension has like vampires, one dimension has humans, one dimension has like werewolves, and one dimension has
Oh, okay.
Cthulhu monsters, and
Ooh.
they all kind of get trapped on Earth at some point. Or, not all of them, but some of them do get trapped on Earth. So that's why there's vampires, and there's in the mythology of the Earth, there are all these creatures from these other dimensions that are trapped on our planet. So, and he's one of these guys. So he's a vampire guy, and he's basically there's a giant battle on the Earth like 70,000 years ago. He gets injured in it and gets basically put in stasis, and then he finally gets revived. So he's now in the human world again, But there are vampire descendants because some of the people who are with him stayed around and procreated with the humans. So it's him trying to figure out why the hell they got trapped here and then how to get back to his world because he's the prince. So
Sounds cool. I love it.
But it's
Yeah,
basically just a bunch of action and monsters.
It
What's wrong
sounds
with
like
that?
a cool book, though.
I know it's just a bunch of cool action and monsters. So
Well, it sounds like a cool book, and judging by the little bit of art I saw there for it on your Twitter, which I refuse to call it anything else other than Twitter, is
it'll always be Twitter.
it looks really cool. So I follow you on Twitter, so I look forward to seeing at some point whenever you are able to do it and put something out for that.
Cool, thanks.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down tonight and taking the time to talk with us.
No problem.
Yes, appreciate that.
We enjoyed it and found out some cool stuff that we didn't know before. So that's always fun too.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of backstories behind all some of the stuff. It's kind of fun.
So again, make sure you check him out on Twitter there, and check him out on Twitter there, and give him a follow and the Patreon too, and then check us out online at codexstation.com. Sal is the one that makes the site, and there's everything on there. And he told me today that he just added a blog to it, so I'm sure we'll put some stupid stuff up on there.
We'll be starting to do the blog stuff. I just made that page available, so anybody can post there too.
Cool.
All right. So again, thank you for taking the time with us, and until next time, everyone, I will catch you by the spinner rack.